Hi everyone, this is Christina Barr and you're watching Black Tea News. Hello. Welcome to Black Tea News. I am your host, Christina Barr, and today we're going to be talking about some culture war stuff. I mentioned a little bit yesterday that DC Comics, they're doing some of their Amazons where they have a trans Amazon now, which they've done a lot of weird things in the comic books, and this one is just too bizarre. It's too bizarre, but it's just so on par with where they're going. And I keep talking about culture war stuff because I do think it's important. As a matter of fact, I think cultural war is something Obama advanced forward, and he's trying to pretend like that's not a thing. And if you mention the culture war stuff, they just gaslight you. But Obama was very much into pushing forward the progressive cultural war forward, and Trump was very much a result of that. And we need some kind of pushback because it's just getting more and more and more intense every day. So comic books, we've had these icons that have been around for a while, and people are taking these logos, these things that we are affectionate about, and they're basically hollowing them out and reducing them down to their politics. And so I've been talking about that. I think it's important to talk about. We're gonna get into more of that later. I do want to go down memory lane because it's my 5-year anniversary of a video that I made when I was at Michigan Republican Party, and went pretty viral, at least on Facebook and stuff anyway, and it really made a difference in the election. So I want to play it for you guys in case you haven't seen it. It was my 50 reasons not to vote for Hillary Clinton. So I'll talk a little bit about the background of it, I guess, when I posted it, and I guess thought processes and what sort of inside baseball I guess I can regarding that. But it was something I was very proud of, something the Michigan Republican Party was very proud of, and people still talk about to this day. So I saw it in my memories, and where I think my sisters like brought it up at first. They like put it in our group chat, and then I got tagged by another sister. But yeah, it was I was very, very dedicated. To see Trump win Michigan, and just to win, period, in those races that we had. We had a very successful year in 2016, and I was just like working nonstop to do video after video after video to pump things out. A lot of fun things that other people got to do, I didn't get to do because I was in my office, which I'll jump into when I go through it all. But I do want to encourage you guys to go to blacktnews.com and check out different articles that I have written. I did, as promised, put together an article about, if you missed, yesterday's show was good, but the day before that, I guess it was Monday, I was really upset about Obama, like I said, gaslighting people, because everyone's trying to scramble and help the governor's race in Virginia. And so Obama was there, and he basically said these, culture wars that they make up to get out votes. It's just like it's a Republican hoax or something. But the reason why you have such a close race right now in Virginia, and I don't know if a Republican is going to pull it out or not, because it's a pretty blue state. I think Biden won by like 10 points or something. But the fact that it's close it is scaring the crap out of them. But it's close, not just because Biden is extraordinarily unpopular, and he is very unpopular. His policies are bad. He looks like a fool on so many different levels, and I don't see a lot of serious people standing up and defending him a lot. There's a lot of just like young clowns who would do it just because, I don't know, they want clout. But a lot of smart folk stay as quiet as they can, because some things going on in this administration are just not something that you can stand up for. So he is really unpopular, and I don't think he's doing any favors going to Virginia. He was just in Virginia, campaigning for the Democrat there, running for governor. But parents are upset about all the stuff going on in Loudoun County. And they've been just kind of sort of the tipping point for a lot of conversations that we're having right now about school boards. The National School Board Association sent out a letter basically calling parents domestic terrorists. The Daily Wire did a story on one of those parents, like one of those incidents that was referenced when a parent got arrested. Of course, his daughter was sexually assaulted by a gender fluid person, by a boy, and wearing a skirt. And they lied about the sexual assault in the bathroom because they were trying to pass like a gender thing where you can go in whatever bathroom you want. So that was things people are talking about. People are also upset about critical race theory. People are very upset about different books that they're finding in their libraries. I mean, yesterday I talked about a book that someone claimed that was in the library in Loudoun County, and it's I think they're both. It looks like from the story these both have to be girls, but one is admitting that they think that they're a boy, and they're coming together. And I guess I already got rid of the last frame, but they collide and they kiss, and this is supposed to be a sleepover, like hanging out, like after school. Yeah, thanks for letting me hang out. And then at the end, they're like, "Oh, I'm a boy." I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And the one with the braid looks way older, and then they kiss, and they're in the bed. And then the people are like, "I don't see what's so wrong with it." I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" Okay. Even if you don't mind the gender confusion, they're making out in a bed. Oh my gosh. So yeah, age appropriate, especially since this is an elementary. So people are finding out things like that in the libraries and so on. So people are just very concerned about the school system, and these people are showing up here in droves, and people are showing up across the country. But Loudoun County right now and Virginia, like that is like the powder keg, basically. So the School Board Association basically called parents domestic terrorists. Turns out that only like 2 people wrote that letter. It was not approved by the board, but they were in coordination with the White House before they sent that letter to the White House. And a few days after it got sent to the White House, the DOJ sent a memo out saying, "Oh, we're assembling a task force to look into all this and stuff." And Merrick Garland was in Congress being pressured and questioned. And it turns out that his evidence for sending out that memo of the rise in threats was the letter itself. So 2 people on the National School Board Association coordinated with the White House to write this letter. They sent it to the White House, and then the DOJ uses that letter as evidence to make a task force to basically go after these parents or look into these parents. And maybe it's only an intimidation tactic. But these people, it seems they like to really go hard after their opponents, their political opponents. Biden was a part of it in the Obama era. They did it a lot. So anyway, I detail all those things in the article. I do have links to the emails of explaining where the White House is, coordinated and so on. And the school board people said they would not have approved that letter. So they did actually apologize for it, but it's a little too late. And so anyway, I do have that article. That's one of the articles I've written. So please share that around. It's on my socials. Share that around. It's an important read. If you don't want to go back and watch like the whole entire episode from Monday, it is an hour. I think it's just an hour long, but at least you have something that you can read through that has some resources that you can share them. It is so important right now that parents are armed with that information because they are trying to save our country, and they're really trying to do that with the youth and through the youth. I do want to thank the Brighter Michigan PAC for allowing me to use their studio. As always, they don't care if you're triggered. I don't care if you're triggered. I super don't care if you're triggered. But I thank them for using the space. But anyway, they can't fire me. No one can fire me. I'm my own person. I say my own views. They're not responsible for me, but I do use a space and I thank them. And so also check out different merchandise that we have on the website as well. I'll just show like a few because we want to get the ball rolling. We got like the goat hoodies and so on. The I'm not the victim you're looking for. Denounce white supremacy, defeat Joe Biden with a list of his racism on the back. So let's jump into the news stories of the day. You guys know I like to start with something funny. So this comes from the Babylon Bee, which you know is a satire thing because you know people are trying to get them down. So they try to fact check the Babylon Bee because they're coming for him, even though just about everyone knows that Babylon Bee at this point is satire, but they just still can't take it. So anyway, PSA, if you have liberals in your neighborhood, remember to check your kids' Halloween candy for hidden vaccines. I think that's funny. I think that's funny. Um, but no, you should definitely obviously just check your kids' candy. I don't think people are putting vaccines and stuff, but you know what? You should be careful about what they're putting in your kids' bodies. There was a family that went to, I can't, maybe it was a Walgreens, and they accidentally gave the children vaccines. I don't know how it was an accident because they did issue vaccine cards. So there's that. And from the news report that at least that I saw at that time, because I think I talked about it when it happened, um, and I don't know if there's been an update on it, but the children were seeing signs of myocarditis, um, or heart related issues since taking that shot. And so I don't know if they're about to be, super millionaires and by suing those entities, but obviously people don't want their children to be in any sort of harm. And we know that the FDA did, they got the approval for the 5 through 11, right? Which I don't understand what is the pressure. I hope they don't have the pressure to if your kids go to school that they make them get vaccinated. We have, and that's totally your choice if you decide that you want to do that. But just here's some, just a little bit of reality, a little bit of reality check. Your kids, and the top one is 1 to 4, the bottom one is 5 to 14. There's other things in life that are much more dangerous than COVID to your kids. If you are over 75, that is way different. COVID is very deadly to people who are older. If you are obese, if you have underlying health conditions like respiratory stuff, yeah. But if you are a kid, the numbers are very, very minuscule for those deaths. And it's under suffocation is a bigger threat to your kids. So whatever you decide. And there's parents who are like very eager to give the vaccine to their kids because they have been scared to death and they don't want their kids to get and spread to somebody else. I guess I get that, but I think you should really really think about your kids. And are you putting unnecessary risk to them? It's not necessarily that these it's not like these, I'm saying adverse reactions aren't rare, but it's still, is it an unnecessary risk? And I would say yes. From 5 to 11, yes, I think that's an unnecessary risk, but you have to make your own decision. But absolutely check and make sure that your kids don't have candy in it that is filled with COVID needles. But it was a good joke. It was a good joke. It was a good joke. So I said I wanted to go down memory lane a little bit because it's like it's like a 5-year anniversary from when I put out this video when I worked at the Michigan Republican Party. For those of you who did not know, I used to work in the Michigan Republican Party. I was the creative director. And so I did the videos and I did their graphics, and I got the job sometime in 2015. I think it was maybe, I can't remember if it was toward like end of the year, beginning of the year, but it was 2015 to like 2017. I was there. And that was like basically toward the end of the year, in November ish, I think is when I left in 2017. So I had a great time at my time that I was there. Ronna McDaniel, who was the chair of the RNC now, she was the chair at the time when I got hired in. And I worked in the comms department. And I it took time for me to basically have leeway on the stuff that I kind of wanted to do. And people eventually just learned to trust my judgment when I had a good instinct on what sort of videos to put out. And so one day Hillary Clinton was talking about, she seemed really annoyed with the direction of the race because she wasn't running away with it. And people were upset with Trump. Of course, people were upset with Trump. They're upset about Trump every day, all day long. But I think they were frustrated that she just wasn't running away with it, because that was her strategy. If you read any of her emails, not any, but if you read some of her emails, her staff was concerned because her strategy appeared to be get Donald Trump elected and then she would win. And she was depending too much on him being such a terrible candidate, such an unlikely president, that once they pushed him through the primary, he got a ton of free media. And it was glowing. If you watch like Morning Joe now, they despise Trump. And Trump did say some pretty things about Mika on Twitter. And Joe and Mika's the thing. So in Joe, he's like no longer even he doesn't identify as a Republican anymore. And sometimes they just be saying stuff that's just out of pocket now. But at the time, they would do all these glowing interviews. And so people were concerned that once Trump got nominated, that they were just going to unleash holy heck on him. And that's what happened. But they underestimated the fact that, one, a lot of people knew a lot of things about Trump anyway, or two, Hillary Clinton was still so far more unlikable. And at that point, I think there's enough people who are savvy enough that they've caught on to like the whole sort of charade they were doing, that they wanted to, sometimes if you watch a sport like a TV show like American Ninja Warrior, you'll have people running and they'll get through the obstacle courses, and they just like to battle the best of the best and test themselves against each other. Politics isn't like that. If we had a more noble society, I think whoever she thought would have been like the best candidate, they're due to the emails or something, and I'm not saying they're the best candidate, but maybe people maybe they think was probably the best candidate. Her emails indicated that she was kind of more concerned with like a Marco Rubio or someone like that getting the position. So you'd think that maybe the media and everyone sort of in on it would maybe push to get someone like that who they think would do a good job running the country. And then it would be kind of the best of the best. So at the end of the day, if you lose, at least the worst won't happen. That's not their thing. So their ideology was, we're going to give you the worst possible thing. We're going to make you pick that thing. And when he's the nominee, we're going to just be like, this person is trash. You can't pick that. You have to pick between two evils, right? And one of them is better than that one. But she underestimated the fact that she was definitely the worst of the evils. to even people who didn't like either of them, she was still the establishment person that people did not like. So she just underestimated a lot of stuff big time. But anyway, she was obviously frustrated. She was complaining in an interview, and she said, well, why aren't I 50 points ahead? And all of a sudden, it was like a light just flashed in my head. I was like, oh my gosh, what if I did a video listing 50 reasons why she's not ahead? So I started assembling a list. And so my office mate, Ross, who was the digital director at the time, he helped. I had my list, and he helped me also like tweak things and stuff as well. He'd help me a ton. One time I did a video. The first one that I did that was pretty viral, I guess, on Facebook and stuff, was this Hillary Friends video, because Facebook has their Friends Day. And so I basically mocked their video of like the generic Friends thing. And it was like Hillary's friends. And so it had a list of like Saul Alinsky, and it had George Soros and people like that. So he helped me get the pictures together and help me get the names and stuff. So because I was like on a deadline. I worked like nonstop till I got that video out, because it was on Friends Day. So it was time sensitive. So anyway, Ross, he was a great guy, great office mate. And so was the next digital director, Kaylee Wheeler, who I worked with later. But Ross was the person who was there at the time. He liked to say that I made the bullets and he fired them. So we put it together, and then after I assembled it, people really, really liked it. And I tweaked like one or two things. So anyway, it got over, I don't know, last time I looked, it was over 700,000 views on Facebook. But anyway, my sisters are like, oh, it's been 5 years. So I just wanted to share this video with you guys. So give me 1 second as I upload it, because I got to share my screen with you guys. Yeah.
Aren't I 50 points ahead, you might ask? There's been a concerted effort to convince people like that young man of something.
We've seen rage and violence over an awful internet video.
Hillary's a liar. I know what she told me.
We didn't lose a single person.
What difference at this point does it make?
We came, we saw, he died.
And the tax system has been, in my view, not effective in capturing money from people who are very successful, and we need to do a better job.
We are going to raise taxes on the middle class.
Because we're going to put a lot of coal miners and coal companies out of business.
And they blame the president when the sun doesn't come up in the morning now.
Don't let anybody tell you that it's corporations and businesses that create jobs.
And I will fight back against so-called right to work.
Still believe there's a vast right-wing conspiracy?
Don't you?
A WikiLeaks email surfaced showing the candidate herself lined up a $12 million commitment from King Mohammed VI of Morocco.
Which enemy are you most proud of?
Probably the Republicans.
You could put half of Trump's supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. They are irredeemable, but thankfully they are not America.
I want to defend the Affordable Care Act. It is one of the great accomplishments, not only of this president, but of the Democratic Party going back to Harry Truman.
They're children of the Great Recession, and they are living in their parents' basement.
Have you always told the truth?
I've always tried to. And overall, veterans who do get treated are satisfied with their treatment.
She is suggesting in public that you have a problem with women speaking out.
110 emails in 52 email chains have been determined by the owning agency to contain classified information at the time they were sent or received.
I opted for convenience to use my personal email account because I thought it would be easier to carry just one device.
And she also used numerous mobile devices to send and to read email on that personal domain.
They destroyed Blackberries with hammers in the State Department.
Hang on, Evan Perez. Hammers? Fact check that for me, please, on the fly.
Yes, they did, Brooke.
They did.
Secretary Clinton used several different servers and administrators of those servers during her 4 years at the State Department.
I remember landing under sniper fire.
There was no greeting ceremony. The unborn person doesn't have constitutional rights.
Are you saying that a child on its due date, just hours before delivery, still has no constitutional rights?
Under our law, that is the case.
Do you believe that their conclusion that an individual's right to bear arms is a constitutional right?
If it is a constitutional right, then it, like every other constitutional right, is subject to reasonable regulations.
All right, everybody now, settle down.
You said in '96 it was proving its worth as free and fair trade.
We will not build a wall.
But you would allow the sanctuary cities to disobey the federal law.
Well, I don't think there is any choice.
But why do you say phantom? You know that there are places that refuse to cooperate with ICE.
Do you look at it yourself and think that's an obscene amount of money?
Yes.
This TPP sets the gold standard in trade agreements.
I can't see paying $3,000 to see Hillary Clinton.
She was my senator in New York. She fought for work that she hasn't yet been able to deliver on.
What's the difference between a socialist and a Democrat?
Well,
is that a question you want to answer, or would you rather not?
Well, you'd have to ask.
There are only two people who were definitive and were absolutely certain. Leon Panetta said go, and Bob Gates, who's already publicly said this, said don't go.
Would you consider appointing Obama?
Wow, what a great idea.
The warning time, if Iran decides to race for a bomb, would shrink to weeks. Does that concern you?
Of course it does. Rich people, God bless us.
Why aren't I 50 points ahead?
She believes she's entitled to the office. Her campaign slogan is, I'm with her. You know what my response is to that? I'm with you, the American people.
And that was it. That was my big video that did so well, so very well. So I was very, very proud of that. When that went out, like I said, it got I don't know if I ever quite maybe got to 1 million, but I think it got maybe close to 800,000 for sure the last time I looked at the numbers, but that was like 5 years ago. Oh gosh. Did anyone else just really miss Trump when you just saw him right there? Joe Biden is so bad, it's ridiculous. I did do a 50 reasons not to vote for Joe Biden video, but MRP didn't share it, so and it was good too. But what was my favorite reason was probably, I mean, not like this was like a definitive reason not to vote for Hillary Clinton. I just mean like sort of as a ding. My favorite diss on there was probably using her daughter and using that soundbite that Hillary Clinton has fought for things she hasn't been able to deliver on. So just a little advice to people out there on the campaign trail or people you have advocate for you. Just tell them to be very careful about what they say. Because people like me are out there. My goal when I do hit pieces like that, and I like to refer to myself as the Queen of Shade. That was my self-title. When I worked, I guess just in general, because I still do stuff for that for people for a fee. I don't like to use things that if people research them, that it'll be a lie, basically. If I want to use something that if people look into it, that it I don't want to deceptively edit something unless it's just like a blatant joke, I guess. But if you research something that I do, I don't want someone to say, well, if you look at the context, then this person who made it is a liar, and obviously this was a nothing burger. Everything that I use, I want it to be something that people can dig into and research and go, oh my gosh, I can't believe this, I can't believe that, I can't believe that. So that's how I like to operate, as honestly as possible, but as viciously as possible. I guess in scenarios like that. So there was a lot of videos that I did that I really, really liked and had a lot of fun. Doing. So yeah, that was my big video, and I still did some really nice videos even after that. They got big hits, but they reshared that. The digital director told me that he thought that actually, he's like, that could have made the difference in Michigan. I was like, really? And he said, but he would just watch like the comments and stuff, and he would see how people would sign up to volunteer after that, and people would give and stuff after that. So we only won by 10,000 votes, but there's a lot of people who really made a difference in that election and fighting up into the very last minute. And there was a lot of people who, then the RNC had some really good data. So maybe they thought the way it was going to go was the way that it went. But there were some people who really were concerned that night. And there was people like my dad who was just totally chill about it. He's just totally chill about it. He's like, it's getting, like, even when the numbers started rolling, and if they were coming in and like the big red portions didn't come in yet, and he's just like, don't worry about it, he's gonna win. And he did. But he said the Lord told him Trump was gonna win, so he had an inside source. He had the inside scoop to who was going to win that election. So but people don't talk enough about the cultural warrior aspect of that election. And at that time, we weren't talking about as many crazy things as we are today. I mean, the bathroom thing started to be a thing under Obama, but obviously it has progressed to a much crazier extent. Like I already mentioned, how in Loudoun County, you had a boy who wears a skirt, considers himself gender fluid or whatever, who sexually assaulted a girl, and the school board basically covered up. The superintendent lied at a school board meeting when he was asked, is there assaults in the bathroom, when he literally knew the day that it happened and actually sent out an email to people. But they don't want, they're so devoted to protecting their ideology. They can't care about actual victims. They can't possibly do it because reality is not their friend. Reality is not their friend. So Trump was a really big pushback. Now he was saying the right things. He was pushing policies that people wanted. And here that's another thing I don't get about people who's running for office. Just listen to the people. I promise you they will tell you what they want and what they need. And sometimes even if you think, well, you're supposed to be running to represent them, and if you don't think you can represent them well, then you shouldn't be running. And sometimes people don't know what's good for them, I guess, but you have to find a way to make that argument to sort of bring them around about why your policies are going to be good. So I don't want people to lie to people and then just go in and do the opposite. I want you to run on things that matter to you, but even things that Trump didn't quite understand. And it was clear there were some things that he was like, and he would say things and maybe not even understand the fundamentals of that issue. He would seek out people who did know those things, and he would learn them. He would learn those issues, learn why they are important. And he sought, help from think tanks and other people and stuff. The one time, I think there was maybe there's a mass shooting or something, and he said something about a policy with guns, and there were Republicans just freaking out. And at that point in time, I learned to just be chill for like a day or two. And I'm like, he's going to talk to some people from the NRA or somebody, and they're going to explain why X, Y, and Z. And I don't mean that as in he's going to back down because other people said X, Y, and Z, and he just goes by their word. He listens to intelligent arguments. He listens to intelligent arguments. But there's other people who are just so devoted to their dogma that they can't think straight, they can't hear straight, they can't. And it's just a shame. So even in Virginia, you have all these concerned parents about what's going on in their schools with their kids, the crazy stuff that there's in their libraries, the books, that there's critical race theory telling all these white kids in Virginia that they're racist and terrible, or implying that they're oppressors, and then telling the black kids and stuff that they'll never get ahead in life and so on. So, Condoleezza Rice was on The View, and she said, I don't have the clip on here, but she said, I grew up in a time where there was real racism, and my parents never expected I would grow up in a time without racism, but they said if people are racist, that's their problem, it's not yours, and you got to try to succeed. And so she, gave her take on critical race theory. And there was a headline, of course, that said something about white supremacy, Condoleezza Rice, and so on. So people will make the craziest arguments. It's a cult. They'll do anything to protect this stuff that doesn't make any sense. So people are concerned about this stuff. And you have Obama saying Republicans are just making up. And you have Joe Biden, who went on the campaign trail and just wants to yell Trump, 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 when the Republican candidate is not like Trump, and everybody who comes along will not be the next Trump or like Trump. He even compared them, made a reference to January 6th, which was gross and disgusting. I heard Ben talking about it. I was listening to the show a little bit, and I'm just like, he's like, this is the most disgusting thing. I'm like, well, this is the same guy who said Mitt Romney was going to put people back in chains. So I'm really not surprised by Joe Biden and the lengths he's willing to go. And the craziest thing is that you have the Democrat Terry McAuliffe, who's just going. He's just doubling down on it, which his opponent Youngkin cut this ad from an interview.
If you win, how are you going to work with those parents who have concerns about how things are being taught in schools across the Commonwealth?
Let's be very clear here. This is all generated by Glenn Youngkin. This is what MS-13, the Republicans used on Governor Northam 4 years ago when he was running. They try to find a divisive tactic.
Republicans are just making it up, huh? These suburban mothers or inner city suburban, whoever they're coming from out of the woodwork to be upset about this, you're really gonna just say all of this was just generated from Republicans and just leave it at that and hope that sticks? You don't even want to sympathize with them a little bit. That's what I meant by the thing about Trump, is that he would go and he would listen to these people. Like when he wanted the support of the black church, of the, not just black churches, but church, the religious community, he'd be like, I want your support. And they're like, well, we can't really just give it to you because there's a Johnson Amendment. It didn't seem like he even knew too much about it. And he's like, okay, he listened. And he's like, you know what? We're gonna do something about that. And he listened to, and people would always say, like, why do you support Trump? He's not that, he did this, and I'm like, oh, my else am I supposed to vote for? Am I supposed to vote for the people who want to attack my religious liberty? Or am I supposed to vote for the person who at least respects it and wants to cut some deals with me? It's not rocket science. It's not rocket science. So you have this man who's running for governor. It's a very tight race. It's still likely he will win because it is a blue state. Don't get me wrong. But these parents are concerned, and instead of saying, we will have that discussion, and I want to alleviate their fears, or these stories have these stories about like the sexual assault or whatever, they're disturbing, and I want to make sure that they're in a safe environment. He just goes the route of Republicans are making it all up. Youngkin's just generating it. Obama's like acting like he's gaslighting and saying, like, oh, this is just a Republican thing. Like they've all just warped the minds of all of these Democrats in Virginia. They are so devoted to their dogma, they will not even listen to their constituents. They will not even listen to their it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. So the best they could do when they had Biden versus Trump, or really, I guess the whole Trump presidency, they were just like, make Trump as toxic as possible, to the point where even Trump is like offering to give you things, or make it like it. They still won't believe it, and they'll just their only strategy was to make him as toxic as possible, so they could just run against him on that. Like, he's bad, just so vote for me, and they don't have to promise you much of anything. And that's crazy, because there's some people who realize that they cut the HBCU funding with Biden. There's BLM is like, y'all ain't meet with us, and now there's Black Lives Matter protesting the vaccine mandates. And I'm over here, and there's I've seen people on TikTok like, oh my gosh, y'all Republicans was right, y'all white Republicans, and the Black Republicans like, what? Why don't you give us our credit? We were smart the whole time. But it's like, bro, Trump was like, hey, I did this. I did the First Step Act. You guys wanted that. I gave you HBCU money. I love to brag about the Black community. Like, anything I can do for you guys. And then he's like, hey, would you like billions of dollars? Would you like that? Which I don't have any like delusions that maybe that it could have got passed or something. I mean, who knows? He could have really tried to push it and got all that sort of stuff passed. But Trump was willing to do that. And he delivered on other things. So he's like, you guys want a bunch of money? You want me to invest in your communities? You want me to do all those things? I'll totally do it. We made Juneteenth, you want to make Juneteenth the holiday? We'll like totally do all that stuff. And they're like, nah, bruh, we're gonna vote for Biden because they said you were mean. Because your tweets are mean. It's crazy. So Biden was still trying to compare Youngkin to Trump. And Youngkin's not Trump. And Trump's not on the ballot. So his poll numbers are already bad. They're already bad. So I don't know what Biden's going to do. And if they remain bad, we're going to take the House, we're going to take the Senate, which are good things. And he probably won't be reelected. He probably won't run again. He's so old. But people in his administration aren't going to be able to just take, if they think Pete or Kamala is going to be able to just run with a nomination next time. They're just in some hot water. It's a trash administration. It's really bad. It's really, really bad. And I wish I could take some kind of shot of formula for that, but it's our whole country. It affects everyone. Inflation affects everyone. The gas prices affect everyone. I was so upset seeing so many people who served in Afghanistan, so devastated to see all of their hard work just sort of crumble into nothing. And I saw a report that there's an official from the Pentagon who says ISIS-K will be ready to attack us within 6 to 12 months. So I'm glad there's people upset to the point where maybe they're waking up. If it makes a difference in governors losing their seats, I definitely want my governor to lose her seat. Definitely. But I wish America was doing better right now? Yeah. But this isn't rocket science. They had bad ideas, bad policies, and Biden was just always a bad person. And I know people want to like him because he's a nice, well, not a nice, but he's just a crazy old grandpa or something like that. I don't, and people are so sympathetic to Biden because he has been through some tragic things. He has, but he's still not a good person. Still a bad person. How could you say that? Because you don't lie to black people in black churches about participating in the civil rights if you're a good person. You don't lie to them and say that Mitt Romney's going to put people back in chains. You don't tell people that compare Youngkin to rioters in January 6th. You don't make all these lies continuously. You don't say that unvaxxed people are still killing people. You said something crazy like that the other day. Openly dividing Americans against each other. So, yeah, so anyway, 2016 was fun, and we worked very hard for that accomplishment. My family, some of my family got to meet Donald Trump Jr. when he came to the Detroit office. I couldn't be there because I was working diligently on my computer on things like the 50 Reasons video. I don't remember which thing I was working on at the time. And then he came to Lansing real quick, and I did see him, but I didn't get to meet him. I didn't take a picture. So I was working really, really, really hard. So if somebody watching knows Don Jr., tell him to share my a super based video. he likes funny things like that. So let's move on, because I do want to make sure that I do talk about this. Don't want to put this off another day. So DC Comics, they have Nebula, who's an Amazon, and people would refer to her as sort of like the black version of Wonder Woman. But anyway, in her book, they had a Amazon who is trans. And so apparently there's like these waters that make of like souls, I guess, of women who had died or been tortured through man's world, and they get reborn in sort of like an immortal body. So I am not positive if they are possessing a body, or they're just kind of remade. But this person in the middle is a trans woman. I think it's a trans woman, and you see he's overcome with emotion. And they say, I don't know how to explain it yet, but this exact moment feels like my soul has desired it long before I came here. I am Baya. So, yeah. And I'm not sure if that means that the soul was in a man's body, and now they're in a woman's body. I mean, I don't love the art. So I'm just kind of confused. It looks like they got knockers. I don't know. But people caught on that this was supposed to be a trans moment, and the writers confirmed it, and they were happy, and they're saying that this isn't going to just be a person to tick the box, which obviously is a lie. They do it to tick boxes and stuff, and to move this sort of stuff forward, I guess. But they said that this is gonna be an actual like character. So I guess we'll see, in the sense that we'll hear about it, because I obviously didn't read it, and I'm not gonna buy it. And I haven't. I told you guys this, like, I grew up with comic books. My dad wanted to learn how to read because his dad brought him home a comic book, and he got my older siblings into comic books. They traveled with them to Calgary in Canada on a missionary trip, and he just brought along boxes of comic books, and that's when they got pretty really into it. And then I jumped into it sometime after that, and it's just been a big thing. We had Thor's hammer before, like, movies, way before the movies, Captain America's shield way before the movies or anything. Like, we are not normies, as they call this, the people who just sort of like the movies and aren't like accustomed to, I guess, really all the lore with all the books and stuff. I have tens of, maybe thousands. There are thousands. I don't know if it's tens and thousands. There's thousands of comic books at my house. This is what we've grown up with, going to comic book stores on Wednesdays to pick up the new stuff. My dad had a pull tab when they have the order of their normal books that they get. So I was really invested in all this stuff. But there were some stories that I didn't really like, so we kind of stopped reading some of them. But it just got progressively more political over time, and it's not just DC comic books, which not too long ago we talked about how Superman has a son named John who is gay, he's bisexual. He's dating a pink-haired hacktivist, and he fights for climate change, protests climate change, which is crazy. It's like, go do something productive. And like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, what are you doing protesting? Superman is very fast, obviously. He can learn faster than most people. He can crush diamonds with his hands. I mean, people like woke Superman aren't going to save the world from climate change. It would be, if there's a problem, if there's something that people could actually even do about it, it's going to be people like Bruce Wayne or Lex Luthor who invest in technology. It's not going to be these people holding up progress and just wanting to tax you into oblivion because they want the profits from those taxes. That's what's crazy about it. Or they have like something that the company that they've invested in, and they want them to get subsidies or whatever, and they want you to like be taxed with your emissions, or there'll be these big companies who don't want any sort of competition, so they're like, well, we can pay the dumb taxes or the eco bills and stuff, but we know you can't. It's all a big ploy. It's so Superman, like, I saw a picture of him just holding the sign protesting climate change. Besides standing there and just making people feel better, I guess, which Superman does things to make people feel better, but those things are normally like, I don't know, talking to orphans or juggling elephants for charity or something, not holding a dumb sign about climate change. And Dean Cain said, like, protesting refugees and something, if he wanted to do something productive or brave, he could actually like go stop the crises that create those refugees. He could do that instead of just being an activist himself. So when people make these storylines, it's not because they're exciting, it's not because they're fun or because they're brave, because they're not. They want to take these icons that we are accustomed to, that we love, and they want to hollow them out, and they want to put themselves inside. They don't care about their legacies or stories, the people who wrote these books, what they would think of all this. They're greedy, selfish parasites who don't care about the things we love. It seems like they resent people like me, fans like me. They don't care if they trigger you. And I don't understand that, because their sales aren't doing well. So we have Amazons that are trans now, which is crazy. Like, besides like thinking about Wonder Woman, like, I was a big fan of like Xena and Hercules growing up, and so we knew a lot about Amazon and stuff from there, from that, and it's like, Why are we okay with all these men in men's world just taking over for women? Like Rachel Levin the other day, by the way, became the first female 4-star admiral in the U.S. history in the U.S. Public Health Service Commission Corps. There's a big problem with this, which would be obviously this is a man, and they gave this historic thing to this man. And it's a first. It's a darn first. It's a darn first, and they gave it to a man. You know the song, anything you can do, I can do better. They said, no, you can't, ladies. They said, no, you can't. Why are we okay with this? Why are we okay with this? Any Biden fans out there? Why are we okay with this as a society? Someone asked an interesting question, and they did it to me mocking and rude, but you guys know I'm on TikTok a lot. And so I was having conversations about abortion, and they said that if men could get pregnant and they had the babies, they claimed that they would be having them more than women. Like they said at the rate of 10 times. And they said that the bodily autonomy argument would not even be a thing, which I don't think that's true, because I think women would be very upset about men offing their babies. But I said I don't think that men would do it more than women. I think maybe they would probably do it less. Because women are supposed to be built to be, and this is a broad, very sense of, I guess, generalizations, what women are supposed to be nurturing, but men are built to be protectors. Of course, there's men who destroy and who are cruel, but I just if not, they definitely wouldn't do it more. If anything, at the most, maybe the same, but I think maybe they would do it less. I think they would do it less, because they are sort of under, like, let me get my seat out there. I just can't see them as a protector and someone who just kind of wants to, I guess, plant their flag. I just can't see them killing their kid like that. Now, it's one thing, I guess, if you convince everyone that that's not a kid and they feel like they can do anything they want. But if it's the man who has to be out of commission for 9 months, I think they're going to be a lot more selective in who they choose to sleep with. So anyway, I thought it was an interesting kind of sort of question. And I started just thinking more about how radically the dynamic would be. Like, first of all, if men could have babies, they would be women, right? Women, because the womb, you know, and their whole biology structure, their hormones, everything would be different, to the point where they would just be a woman. It's a silly question anyway. But let's say everything else for men is the same. Everything else about their normal thought processes, and that they still are the hunter gatherers, that they're still the ones who pick higher earning jobs, that they're, still more aggressive, that they're, competitive, I guess, and just general things about men versus like women being more agreeable and so on. And the only thing that's different is that they do have the babies. That is too much power structure that they have. That is far too much power on the men's side. That is far too much. And the more I thought about it, I'm just like, God really just knew what he was doing in the design of them needing each other. That, and as much as it sucks, which men are, that would really suck for them, because they wouldn't have that. I guess maybe they evolve that way, but men certainly have a lower tolerance for pain. But that would be a huge dynamic difference if that were the case. The whole relationship structure would be far different, and men would certainly be able to have their pick of who they're going to be with. Women just would be at huge disadvantage if they had that powerful tool of being the mother out of their hands. And I'm not saying that women aren't valuable if they can't do that, but just as a whole, if that was just not part of our nature, I think that would be awful. So I guess I said that to say men and women are not interchangeable. They have a balance. Men can't do all the things that women do, and women aren't men. They can't do all the things that men do. And to just pretend that they're interchangeable, I just can't get with that. I can't condone that. Someone was upset because I wouldn't use their gender pronouns, and I'm like, first of all, I'm a Christian. I'm not going to lie to you. And then they try to say, well, say about God has his pronouns. I'm like, well, he calls himself that, and he made man in his own image, and then he made women. There's like a balance to things. There's a role to things, and men shouldn't try to be what women are, and women shouldn't try to be what men are. They're not interchangeable. And regardless of however you feel about yourself, I'm not going to play into a fantasy that men and women, their roles are interchangeable. So I'm sorry, but this isn't a thing. This is not a thing. So how many Biden voters did you know the other way? They were like, congratulations to that you personally know. I'm like, because I know there's people out there celebrating, but it's wackadoodle. It's wackadoodle. So anyway, those are the sort of things that get more acceptable in the culture war stuff with, in these comic books and TV shows and so on. And now we have someone in our I'm not saying they shouldn't serve in any capacity of government. That's not the argument, which this person shouldn't know. This person, Levin, who got their mother out of a nursing home, knowing good and well that the nursing homes weren't the place that they should be for and putting the COVID patients there. He should have been investigated, not promoted. That was totally a diversity pick. Absolutely. Totally the wrong person for that job. Absolutely. This was a diversity hire. And he is not a woman. But now they're hailing him as the first female 4-star admiral in the history of the U.S. Public Health Service Commission Corps. That's bonkers. That's bonkers. We also know that in comic books, we talked about this a little bit before, Tim Drake, who is my favorite Robin, he is now bisexual. They said him and his friend are figuring things out. He's been around for as long as I've been alive, and he's still figuring things out. No, some writers got a hold of him and they decided that they wanted him to be a certain way. That's what happened. And there are older writers who spoke out against this sort of stuff. They don't like it. But you got these young crazy people who are just trying to really, really push what they want. In the Loki series, I believe it was the director, there was some kind of comment or some kind of nod to Loki being gender fluid or something. And then they're like, it was really important for his character. I'm like, we've known this movie Loki for more than 10 years. It's obviously not important to his character. It was important to you. It was important to his character. It hasn't played a role in anything. I don't even know if it played a role in the series that they decided to mention in. They just want to claim him. They just want to claim him. And they just want Superman so they can put out, the S symbol with the rainbow flags, which they could have did that anyway, I guess. But they wanted some more legitimacy to that. But even with all the stuff I named, the Wonder Woman thing, the trans Amazon is still the weirdest. So I'm at this point now where we have to ask ourselves, how much more of this stuff are we going to entertain? With Marvel Comics, they had, during the 4th of July issues, Captain America asking, does he even know what the American dream is? Should he even still wear the flag? It makes people upset and other stuff. Just a lot of rhetoric that was really not pro-American or stuff that you want to hear out of your Captain America. which different people have written Cap over the years or whatever, but really some nihilistic stuff. Speaking of nihilistic, Ta-Nehisi Coates wrote Captain America for a little bit, and he's the one who compared Jordan Peterson, sweet Canadian Jordan Peterson, to Red Skull. Talking about the 10 rules for life, and it was like the 10 rules for chaos or something like that. It was pretty obvious. And then you had some people who were gaslighting, like, well, if this reminds you of Jordan Peterson, what does it say about you? We're not stupid. We know what happened. Why else would the Red Skull be having a 10 rules for chaos? It's not hard. There were other references. It's pretty, we got the message. It's pretty clear. And what really bothered me about that wasn't just how they attacked Jordan Peterson, but there was another portion in the book that talked about his appeal to young men. So I'm like, not only did you attack the psychologists, you attacked the people who get help from them. That is sick. So I think we're at a point now where we have to start asking, how much do we want to continue to support these brands? I'm at the point where I was like, you know what, that a lot of stuff with the comic books, but also stuff in the movies and just Disney in general. I think it's an pretty evil company. I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna like do the Disney Plus thing, and I don't want to support their Marvel movies, at least. And I guess I didn't make a hard commitment that I was gonna do that forever. But when my family went to go see Shang-Chi, I'm like, you know what, I'm not gonna do it. And I don't like the Spider-Man movie anyway, so I'm not going to see Far From Home. But I don't really have any plans to see things going forward. With this Amazon thing, I'm thinking maybe I won't go see the Batman movie, though it looks very good. I was less conflicted about the Marvel stuff. I'm more conflicted about the new Batman film, which, like I said, does look good. But I'm just like, we need more things to support. Rippin 59. His thing is Rippin 59. He's a podcaster I listen to. He's starting his own comic book company, and he wants to be able to compete with them. Now he doesn't have any stuff out yet, but I wish him luck. And as a matter of fact, after the Superboy thing, someone from DC that they had up to there with that was like their last straw, and now they're working on projects with him. So you need to support people who do want to step out of the boundaries and make new culture. Wherever you can find them. If you guys know of good people that you can recommend, maybe I can have on the show or just promote some things, let me know. You can let me know in the comments. You can email me, whatever. But we do need to push different things. And as iconic as the bat symbol is, and the Superman logo, and Wonder Woman, and all these people, we can't allow these symbols to keep transforming our country, or just in general, a bad direction. This new Superman slogan it's not going to be truth, justice, in the American way. It's like truth, justice, and a better tomorrow. And a better tomorrow sounds good, right? But they obviously don't feel like the American way is that better tomorrow. And granted, it hasn't always been that slogan. That's true. But they changed it in times for politics, fighting against communists and stuff. So now they want to, I guess, promote more of a inclusive new world order sort of thing. So we can't have the American way, even though Superman is a Kansas farm boy. He may be from space, but he's a Kansas farm boy. So if that's how they feel about America, and Captain America doesn't understand the American dream and stuff, when you wear these symbols on your chest, when you buy into all this commercialized stuff, what do you think it stands for anymore? And for me, I have a lot of fond memories attached to all of these things. And there was someone who's a big Wonder Woman fan. She was the one who told me about the trans thing. And she was very sad because she invested her own money into that stuff. And we just got to find new heroes. That's why I titled this episode that. because I think we need to invest into other things that still care about the American dream, that don't want to. It's fine to tell your story, but you don't needlessly divide people like what they did with Red Skull and Jordan Peterson and mocking him and the people who follow him. That was needlessly cruel. Needlessly cruel. It's one thing to have ideology, but you don't have to be needlessly cruel to people. So a lot of these companies have so much money. Disney basically runs the world. Except China. They're scared to death of China. They're scared to death of China. They're scared to offend China, and China's launching space lasers or something to shoot down our missiles. That's where we're at right now. So if you're out there and you are creative, make your own content, and we got to learn to support each other. We have to learn to support each other, and maybe we'll find new superheroes to support. Maybe you'll find new stories that you love. You guys know that I make content. I have seen an uptick in like people buying Super Kid and stuff like that. You know, it was my dream. It was my dream to listen to Rush Limbaugh one day and him to say, "Why do liberals hate Super Kid?" So of course, obviously that can't happen, but you know, I do have stuff too, and that's not why I talk about all this stuff. But it is important that people do support new stuff, and I mentioned it, so I might as well show you guys some of my stuff that I have. But get out there and make a new world, because a lot of these icons and heroes that we have, I think we don't need to keep doing the bait and switch when you see a cool movie and you're willing to give them dollars so they can keep writing anti-American propaganda. And I don't want to exactly guilt you guys out of it totally. Like, you all have to make your own decision. But I've come to mind, at least, especially with the Marvel stuff, and I'm in there with the DC stuff. I really am. So anyway, that is the show for today. I gotta get going. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure that you go to blacktnews.com and you share that article about the Fauci stuff. No, I'm sorry, not the Fauci stuff. The Merrick Garland, the School Board Association. Parents need to know how deep the web is against them and their children. So share that around. It's got some important information. So go to blacktnews.com. If you enjoyed that article and you enjoyed this episode and just what I do, consider supporting blacktnews.com. Go to blacktnews.com/donate and consider leaving a gift. $25, $50, $100, whatever you would like to do. I appreciate it, all of it. Make sure that you guys are sharing videos, that you guys are sharing articles, that you're liking and you're subscribing at Black T News on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. All my handles are at Black T News, except on Twitter, it's at True Black Tea. And you guys, please make sure that you guys check out different merchandise that I have on the website. It's getting cold out there. You need a nice goat hoodie. Trigger some leftists in your life. God bless you guys. I will see you all tomorrow.